Hi, welcome to this video, and today I'm talking about this Letus Mini adapter. You can see this, it's on the front of my JVC GYH M100, and then I've got a lens on the front of that. So this is a two-part video. The first part, it's about a 35-minute video, but the first part I'm just going to show you the pictures that I took today, the video shot, and then at the end of the video I'm going to show you how to set up and clean, a little bit of information on setting up and cleaning the Letus Mini. So we're coming up on the first shot here. So yeah, it's going to start in a second. So yeah. So here's the first shot, and this is the first time on my GYH M100 I have the gain. You can go into the settings, you can turn the gain off. Like, I'm talking about the gain on your camera, just completely turn it off. So I said, hey, well, you know, it's still taking pictures, so maybe I can go out for a shoot and try to shoot with the gain off, like completely off. So all of these video images are shot with the gain on my camera, my GYH M100 3CCD camera off. So I thought it would be cool to see, you know, maybe it's the battery, whatever, it'll save some battery, maybe it'll look different. So yeah, this is Granville Island, and it's kind of like, I guess, the far end of the island, the far east side of the island, Granville Island. And there's like kind of a little marina around the edge there. And I'm looking across to downtown Vancouver. So here I turn the sound on. And so yeah, that first bit was recorded without sound. So you can see, I think this is my 35. I brought my 35, my 50 millimeter, and my 135. So I think this might be my 50. Yeah, I think this is the 50 millimeter. So basically what you're going to see is you're going to see the focusing screen on my Letus at times, and that's a problem with using the Letus, is that you see the focusing screen. So you'll see it in the shot, and if you have the f-stop on the lens, there's two f-stops. There's the f-stop on the camera, and there's the f-stop on the lens. So if the f-stop on the lens is over f5, I think you can see it, and it's also if the shutter speed is too low or too high, you can see it, which is kind of crazy. So I think if the shutter speed is below 1/30th of a second, and if the shutter speed is above, I'm not sure if it's 60th of a second, I think you can still see it. So yeah, so it's a very like narrow range of shutter speed, like 30 frames a second is basically the best shutter speed, because where you can't see the focus screen at all. So there you can see the focus screen, and when I move the shot around, you'll be able to see the focus screen. And so today was a cloudy day, and for the most part I used 1/30th of a second. The other day I had an ND filter on, and I didn't like the results because the ND filter was making the focus wasn't as sharp with the built-in ND filter. So today I shot all non-ND filter, and in the future I ordered a 1000 ND, so I'm going to put that on the front, and I'm going to be shooting ND filter, but not the built-in ND filter, which, like I said, doesn't focus very well, or it has problems with focusing. So as you can see, the best results are where you have the lens f-stop above like f5, or like open wider than f5, and then 60 frames a second, or 30 frames a second, and that's where you're going to get no focus screen happening. But the really cool thing I noticed on this shoot especially is that the internal f-stop has no... You can use like a higher internal f-stop, so you can go internal f-stop f8, f22, like f anything, and it doesn't affect the focus screen, the viewing of the focus screen. So yeah, so I'm definitely keen about that. I'm gonna definitely, the next time out, I'm gonna be manipulating the internal f-stop way more, and leaving the lens f-stop open. So, depending on what the lens is, there you can see the focus screen on the image. So it kind of looks like a little bit of it looks like sort of a texture on the screen, and that's the focus screen on the Letus. So yeah, you can see it blew out, like the screen blew out there.
Internal iris 6.3, 125 second.
So yeah, 125 seconds is a short, slow shutter speed. So you can see it there at 125 of a second. But I think if you go higher, and also if you open up the aperture a little bit, it's going to get better results, especially on the lens. If you open the aperture on the lens, you're going to get better results. So anyways, I'm really happy for a couple of reasons. I'm really happy that it's focusing really nice and sharply, and that's due to one of the things that I did on the Letus, and it's also because I'm not using the built-in ND filter, which is garbage. So I don't know, maybe you have a JVC GUI-HM 100 and you had better luck with your built-in ND filter, but my built-in ND filter, it messes with the focusing, so it doesn't provide a very sharp picture.
This is shutter 12.5, internal f6.3, external f16.
So yeah, that one is a really slow shutter speed, and you can see a little bit of the focusing screen there, as when you're panning it around, you can see the focusing screen. Yeah, especially when it's on brighter images in the screen, you can see that focusing screen. So that's a really slow shutter speed there. Like I said, it was 112.5 of a second right there. But the color's nice. So even though I have all the gain completely turned off internally on my camera, you can still get decent color.
Lens f11.
So it still looks good. I mean, it looks fairly sharp. The color looks good with the gain off. So that's pretty cool. So I think I'm going to be shooting all of the time now with just my my gain settings completely off in camera. So that's what I'm going to be shooting now. And for those that you haven't watched any of these videos, the reason you're getting the type of picture you're getting is because of two technologies. One, I'm using vintage lenses. I'm using Olympus OM vintage lenses, like from around the 60s.
F7.1, 112.5 second, external iris, lens iris f11, internal iris 7.1, 112.5 second.
So I'm still using slow shutter speed on this shot, which I still like the shot. But what I was saying is the reason you get the kind of images that you get are a couple of reasons. One, I'm shooting with a camera that uses 3CCD technology, which is pretty rare in 2020 right now because everything now is CMOS. So this is 3CCD technology, and I'm a big fan of CCD and 3CCD. So that's the one reason why, if you do like the image, it could be because it's using that CCD, 3CCD, which is, I think, gives you a really beautiful color rendition, and I find everything looks way more solid and than CMOS. And I just love the image compared to CMOS. And the other thing I said is because I'm using a Letus, and I'm using a Letus Mini. They make a whole bunch of, the company Letus makes a whole bunch of different adapters. And I'm using the Mini 35. And with the Mini 35, I can add vintage lenses like Olympus, and that's what I'm using, vintage camera lenses. So, and I'm using Olympus branded OM lenses. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful image right there. Like I said, this is all slow shutter speed. And it looks like I'm having pretty good luck with the focusing screen. And I think that's due to the fact that I'm using low f-stop numbers on the camera. And I think that helps it a lot. So yeah, open up the f-stop on the lens and then close 150 shutter speed,
Internal f
7.1, lens f4. So yeah, this looks really, really good. Yeah, this is like, you can see no focus screen at all, and it just looks perfect. And I think with a combination of a decent ND filter on the front of the lens, I think is just going to make everything optimal. So I'm just waiting right now for an adapter. I've got my brand new ND filter, so I'm just waiting for the adapter. So here at 1/50th of a second, I think I could hear the clicking, so so I closed off the lens.
150 shutter speed. Internal iris f.
So yeah, see what happens is if you close off the lens, then you can basically see the focusing screen. So yeah, I closed off the f-stop, and you can see a little bit of the focusing screen now on the lens. So yeah, you have to keep the lens open to, it looks like around f4 or more open than f4, and then you don't have any problems. So I think f5.6 might be good too. f5.6 would be okay too on the lens. And it looks like 50th of a shutter speed is pretty good. Like no problems with 50th of a shutter speed, 1/50th of a second. So yeah, it looks all good. The only problem now, and the reason that you can see the focusing screen,
Go ahead.
is because the lens is a little bit too closed off. So I think I had the lens at f7. So yeah, it's a really nice day. It's cloudy. It's about 13 degrees. There was a touch of rain. It's a Sunday. I guess it's around 11 a.m. in the morning. Those are those little taxis that taxi people across the waterway from one side to the other. There it is right there, a little taxi. Aquabus. So yeah, you can see it's pretty good. Like I said, the lens is a little bit too closed right now for perfect pictures. So Yeah, the lens is just a little bit too closed right now.
Internal f 7.1, 125, shutter speed. Lens f8.
Okay, so here the shutter speed's lower, and you can still see. So yeah, I closed the this is like the lens is closed off to f8, so, and the slower shutter speed, so you can still see the focusing screen. So yeah, I think the primary culprit is closing the lens f-stop. So yeah, this is a really closed off f-stop, f8, and I'm surprised that I can't, I'm not even having more problems with the focusing screen. But you can still see it, right? But yeah, still getting some semi-decent shots. But again, yeah, you can see the focusing screen a little bit, especially in certain lighting situations. So yeah, it's a beautiful day. I think I've got my 50mm lens, Olympus OM 50mm, and that's what I'm shooting with right now. You can see all the way across there. Oh, actually, I might have my 135 on right now. Yeah, I think this might be the 135mm lens. You can see the people all the way across the water there. This camera,
f7.1, internal f-stop. Alright.
with the vintage lenses, you get really nice narrow focusing.
125 second, f71 internal.
f7.1 internal.
f11 lens.
125. So yeah, I'm shooting like really fast shutter speed now. So yeah, sometimes the vibrating motor, like if your shutter speed's too fast, then it looks really weird because you can actually capture the vibrating screen with the shutter speed if it's not set properly. So I think I would have ran into this problem at 125. So yeah, I think that's why you can see the focusing screen, because I have the shutter speed up really fast now, 1/125 of a second. But I'm just experimenting right now just to see what happens, like when I do all the different camera settings. So yeah, 1/125 setting. But at the same time, I have the lens aperture closed right down, so I don't know what would it be like if I opened up the camera lens aperture, but probably the same problem, because it works way better at lower shutter speeds. Like 1/50th of a second was like optimal. It was working really good at 1/50th of a second. Oh, so this is actually not too bad. There's nice contrast happening, nice color happening. So yeah.
1/50th.
Yeah, that's kind of my favorite shutter speed, I think.
f6.3 internal.
150, 130 is like kind of the sweet spot.
And f8 lens.
So yeah, the lens is quite closed. I don't know if that's the internal or external f-stop. So you can see a tiny bit of the focusing screen, and I think if I had the lens f-stop open like one more stop, it would completely fix the problem. So yeah, this is my 135mm lens, and I'm shooting with the monopod too. So that's why it's a pretty steady shot, because I'm using a monopod.
Let's put a seawall right there.
So now I'm looking, there's a kind of a seawall. They call it a seawall, but basically it's just a walkway. They call it the seawall, but it's basically just a walkway. So now I'm looking right across the water, and just seeing like the people that are, it's a Sunday morning, like almost noon, and you know, people are out and about on a Sunday. And it's spring, it's May 24th. May 24th, 2020.
Lens.
So yeah, 5.6 is a sweet spot for sure. 5.6 is the lens f-stop. That's the limit. So
Don't worry, I'm not shooting you guys. I'm not shooting you guys. I'm not filming you guys. I'm just fucking around.
5.6 and more. So f5.6 and more open is good. Some of the boats here are pretty nice. There's one boat in particular that's just it's just a gorgeous boat. It looks like it could be, you could cross the ocean with this boat. Oh yeah, here it is right there. Not this Monopoly, but the one right beside the Monopoly, I think, is not that one in the background, but there's one, I think it's in the foreground. The one right on this side of the Monopoly there is a really, really nice boat.
This is 1/50th of a second. f6.3 internal shutter speed, internal f-stop. 1/50th of a second. Lens f11.
So yeah, the lens is the reason. If you close the lens off, you can see the focusing screen. So yeah, but it looks pretty good still. Like, it's not every situation where you can see the focusing screen, especially if you're looking at like darker areas. You don't notice it as much. So there we go. That's a nice picture looking down the walkway.
6.
So there's
Lens shutter speed 5.6.
5.6. So yeah, I think I'm talking about the lens f-stop 5.6, and that's why that's the sweet spot right there, where you see just about no focusing screen at all. 5.6 with the outer lens f-stop. So that's just a beautiful shot across the way there. Nice shimmering on the water. So I guess I missed shooting my really fantastic boat, but it's there. It's a really nice boat. Okay, so yeah, this is looking really good, and I think this is 50th of a second lens f-stop 5.6, and it looks good. I'm happy with this.
Alright. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. I don't know. I'm not as picky as some people. I think some people might be more picky, but for me, I think that looks like a good shot.
I love this boat right here.
It is a nice place to shoot because there's so much to shoot. There's so much that's interesting. There's boats going by, people going by. Those little water taxis. And it's actually nice because it's not crazy busy. With the with the semi closed down due to Coravid or whatever. It's perfect. It's been perfect for shooting because it's not, so many people are still indoors that it's not crazy busy. So it seems like it's a great time, sort of an opportune time to shoot video, because it's sort of like it's opportune. I have to say it. So yeah, that's a beautiful shot right there. So yeah, in a minute I'm going to talk about the Letus. So I'm going to show you pictures of my Letus adapter, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how to get it to work perfectly and how to set it up and all that kind of deal. So that's going to be in a couple minutes at the end of the video. You can see that. If you don't like it, you can just turn it off. These Letus adapters, I can't remember. I'm using the cheapest Letus adapter, and I got it on eBay for some crazy cheap price, like $50 or something. I think when they're new, they're around maybe $300. And mine is the smallest Letus adapter. And the vibration motor is not the high-speed motor. There's another one. There's two sizes, my size, and then there's a larger size, which is mine's called the Letus 35 Mini, and then there's the Letus Elite, the Letus Ultimate, and I think there's even another one. I don't know what it is, but the Letus Ultimate is the best one, and it's a lot more expensive. I think it's like around $1,000 you can get them for, like used. The Letus Extreme, I think you can get it for like a couple hundred used, and it's a larger unit than mine. Mine's the Letus Mini, and all of these other ones are the next size up: the Letus Extreme, the Letus Elite, and the Letus Ultimate. Those three are the next size up, so they're a larger size adapter.
Internal f-stop f7.1, external f-stop f11.
And the only difference between the top one, the Letus Ultimate, is it has a higher speed vibrating motor that is variable vibrating motor. So that's what separates the Letus Ultimate, and so you can use it on higher shutter speeds and you won't run into issues with the vibration and the shutter speed. So that's the Letus Ultimate. But I think what happens is I'm going to try to in the future I might get one of the larger ones. Like I have the Letus Mini, but I might want to get the larger one. So in a minute I'm going to be finished this video, and I'm going to show you at the end of the video, for about 5 minutes, I'm going to show you about how setting up the Letus, which is going to come up in a couple seconds now. So I just have a couple pictures of my how you can clean it up, some of the problems and some of the fixes of the Letus adapter. So here's the first image. So yeah, that's looking, you can see the focus screen. That's with the lens. You take the lens off. The lens is off. Like the lens screws into that, and you can see the white square. That's the focusing screen right there. So you're looking in, and you can see the focusing screen. So that's what that has to be perfectly clean and stuff like that. And I had focusing problems, so I mounted it. I'll show you in the next photo. I'll show you how I mounted it and stuff like that. So as you can see inside the Letus adapter. So here's the next image, and in a second. So this is, you can see the side view of when you take apart the Letus. That is the side view of the focusing screen, and that little thing sticking out the front is the vibrating motor, and those posts, those metal posts, are holding the focusing screen to the rest of the Letus. So it all comes apart, but that's just from the side view, and that has to be mounted parallel, so that so your whole image is in focus and not part of your image. If it's not parallel, then and you have to turn the vibrating motor on to make sure that it stays parallel. So on each of those posts is kind of a rubber piece, and it sort of sticks into the there's holes in the Letus that those posts stick into, and the rubber is what's making contact on the tip of those posts. So okay, here's a good view of the Letus, and it's you can see the rubber posts, and you can see the focus screen, and as you can see, I mounted the focus screen as just a opaque piece of glass, and I had issues with it, so I had the glass. There's a sort of a black plastic holder, and the opaque glass focus screen is now mounted on the front, and it was mounted on the underside, and I'm getting much sharper focuses. So I don't know, maybe somebody had a bad day at the assembly plant or something, or the guy before me maybe put it to get back together wrong. But anyways, so yeah, when the glass is on the front, but all this has to be cleaned. You have to clean this all off to get all the dust off. So you may have to if you buy one of these used, you might have to take it apart a little bit and just clean all the dust off everything. And there's the piece of glass that goes underneath the focusing screen, and it's sort of like it's concave on one side, and it's on flat on one side and concave on the other side, or convex on the other side. On the convex side goes into the Letus, and so you have to go very carefully with a Q-tip, a clean Q-tip. You have to get any kind of, and a blower, and blow all the dust out and get any little bits of dust, because if there's any dust in there, it's going to show up on the image. So you have to clean it and look through it and make sure you got every little bit of dust. It's not a very good design too, because it's not completely closed design. So it's not a sealed design is what I'm going to try to say. And so yeah, the convex side goes down and the flat side goes up, and then it just has two screws that hold it in place. So there you can see it's all back together. And you can see that I mounted the glass focusing screen on the top side of the black plastic, and it's focusing the way it should. And for some reason, I don't know what happened, but that focusing screen was mounted underneath, and I was not able to get sharp focus, especially in the distance with my Olympus OM lenses. So after trying everything like for a couple hours, I realized that if I put that focusing screen just onto the front side, I'm going to get better results. So I don't know, like I said, maybe somebody had a bad day when they were manufacturing it, or the last guy that owned it put it together wrong or something, but it's all working now. So yeah, I just used some contact cement, and you have to be really careful not to get any contact cement on the focusing screen itself. So here you can see I pulled the focusing screen out, and you can see the glass, and this all has to be like clean, and you have to clean it and re-clean it and make sure there's not a speck of dust on there, and then put it all back together. And that's that convex piece of glass. It's a convex on one side and it's flat on the inside, and it has those two screws to hold it in. So you have to get all the dust out of there and then throw it all back together. And again, it's not a sealed unit, so you might, if you buy one of these things, you might have to open it up and clean it, because it's not completely sealed and dust can get in. So, and then here's my last shot. So coming up on the last shot, and you can see the rubber posts that hold the focusing screen to the body. They just go in those holes. So yeah, there's with everything apart, and you can see, you can reach in there with a Q-tip and you can get all the dust out. You can blow it all out. And that's the last shot. So I hope you liked that video, and thanks for watching. And I hope if you decide to play around with these Letuses, I hope you have a lot of fun with those. I'm going to keep making videos of what I shoot with my Letus and my little Letus adventures. So yeah, you can get the it's really cool. Like you can get the 360 cameras, the JVCs for, you know, $500 maybe or less. And you can get vintage lenses, and you can get the Letus Mini is actually cheap. You can probably get it for under $100 if you can find it on eBay. So thanks for watching.